Hello, and welcome to the 404 Media Podcast, where we bring you unparalleled access to hidden worlds both online and IRL. 404 Media is a journalist-founded company and needs your support. To subscribe, go to 404media.co. As well as over bonus content, subscribers can hear us answer their questions in future podcasts. Ask us anything you want on podcast at 404media.co. I'm your host, Joseph, and with me are 404 Media co-founders Sam Cole.
Hello.
Emanuel Mayberg.
Hey, what's up?
And Jason Kebler.
You told me that you were going to mix up who you introduced first, and I feel like I've been introduced last at least the last two times.
Uh-huh.
What's with that?
I'm building a false sense of security, but now I've told you as well. So that, I don't know. I have to war game this. I have to plan it out.
I amped myself up to say something earlier, and yet again I was last.
Sure.
I'm always ready. I'm gonna jump early one of these times if you mix it up. I'm gonna be like, I'm Emanuel. Nice to be here.
I think one time I'm gonna be just, and everybody's here, go, and we all have to jump in at the same time.
Yeah. Should we? I think we can do this now to hijack right away. Emmanuel's wearing a cool shirt.
Yes, he is.
You want to talk about your shirt, Emanuel?
I got a mysterious package in the mail. I opened it up, and it was filled with the most beautiful clothing items that I've ever seen in my life, and also I've heard for unbelievable value.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that they were on Milan Fashion Week. I believe I saw them.
Paris Fashion Week is coming up soon.
That means
as
they
well,
came with bed bugs, so.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yes, you're right. But yeah, this is our first piece of merch, or we have a few pieces. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see. But for audio listeners only, there's a small little logo of the 404. I don't know, mascot, whatever we call it. And then on the back, there is the 404 Media logo itself.
Give us a spin, man. Can you spin around?
Yeah, give us a little spin.
Can you?
Yeah, we can see that.
There it is.
Kind of, yeah. So
Very good.
you can buy this now. We have a little shop set up, and I'm mailing them from my garage, so it's not a drop shipping scheme. It's
Not yet.
They're mailed with love.
Where can people go buy those, Jason?
Shop.404media.co. You can also find the link at the top of our website if you don't remember that.
Sure. All right. We also have a couple of hats as well, which none of us are wearing right now, but they will, keep you in the shade, stop you getting sunburned. So that's good as well. We have a lot of hats, I think, right?
Yeah, we have like 30 of each type of hat. We have an explorer's hat, which is khaki and has little buttons on the side, and that I've worn surfing a few times and stayed on while I was duck diving under waves. And then we have a traditional white bucket hat that Sam modeled, so you can check that out.
Very good. I will also endorse the shirt as well. All right, as for this week, we have a couple of stories to go into. The first one, it's two stories, but they're sort of very much similar in theme, and Emanuel did one and then did the other one immediately after. The first one is called I Joined an Exclusive Club of YouTube Porn Hunters. So, Emanuel, you've been following this community for a while, who obviously they find ways to upload content to YouTube, or they hunt out, explicit content that's already on the platform, which, as everyone would know, shouldn't probably be on YouTube, at least judging by their nudity or their pornographic terms of use, right? So before we get into the exploit that's being used here and sort of the videos, how did you come across these people?
Jason sent me a link to a Reddit community where people shared videos on YouTube that contain nudity. Most of them are pretty mild. They're scenes from movies, photo shoots from models, things like this. But there was a post in there about a Discord channel that you can only join once you apply. You have to pass a test in order to get in. And it was advertised as like the real shit. It's like everybody knows about these Reddit communities on Reddit. They're pretty well populated. There's a lot of posts there. People share stuff, and it goes down pretty quickly. And the post that was pitching the Discord community was like, if you want the real stuff that doesn't get taken down, the really explicit stuff on YouTube, you have to join this Discord channel. And the way that you join is first you get the link, and then you're in some sort of like waiting room. And to get past that, you have to pass a test. And the test is you have to find your own previously undiscovered YouTube videos that contain nudity. And if you find them and submit them and they're still live on YouTube after 48 hours, you can get in. And once I saw that, I just immediately took it as a challenge.
So you have to provide an offering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just like jump into the community. You have to like contribute. And only once you contribute, you're allowed in.
This is the case with a lot of Discord communities that I'll join as well, especially like the hacking ones. Like they will say, well, at minimum, please respond with an emoji and we'll let you in to keep the bots out, or fill out this captcha, or you have to answer a question. But this is beyond that. This is like our Discord community is so exclusive that you have to provide something to even be
Joseph, do you join hacking communities where they're like, hack a nuclear reactor and prove it, cause an international disaster?
I swear I have seen like forums, this was a long time ago, where they're like, you have to prove you're a hacker. I'm like, how the hell are you going to go do that? Okay, but in this case, you did get in, Emanuel, so you do that step, right? What do you see when you're in there? And then how are they finding these videos?
So it was interesting because once I got in there, I saw that the primary method is the one that I came up with naturally when I was trying to find my own videos. And that is, if you look at YouTube's policy, it's pretty restrictive against nudity and what they call sexually gratifying content, which is a whole can of worms that I don't want to get into because there's plenty of feet videos on YouTube that are not nudity, but definitely somebody's getting off to it. But if you think about it, there's a clause in there where it's like, if it's educational, then it's allowed, right? It's like you can watch birthing videos on YouTube and grooming videos. And what I did, I just searched for bikini wax and then sorted the results by videos that were posted that week. And immediately you see like pretty explicit videos, because if you want to document that process and you really want to educate someone on how to do it, you can't avoid, seeing someone's vagina. Like that's how it works. And that's a lot of what people were doing. The thing that I thought was really interesting and kind of funny is that under the educational category, there's two genres of videos. One is a legitimately educational video. I saw one from like an agency in Texas that teaches women about breastfeeding, and it's like very informative and useful. But if you search for breastfeeding videos on YouTube, you will find tons of videos that are just, women fondling their breasts, and they're like clearly taken from other adult videos.
So they're using the educational tag as a cover, essentially, right, to be like, hey, look, don't remove this because it's educational, when in practice it's not.
Right. So it's like educational in the title, in the description, and then also sometimes there's audio over the video that is maybe ripped from a legitimately educational video. And we don't know exactly how they're playing YouTube's moderation methods, but very clearly it's not sophisticated enough to sort through the real ones and the fake ones.
Right, that makes sense. So you have these people, as you say, hunting out nudity on YouTube, maybe uploading their own, right? And they're using, some of them are using the educational banner as cover. But then, if I understand correctly, there's another type, which is what's in your second story, which are that people are using, basically, they're taking advantage of vulnerabilities in YouTube to then just host videos even without the cover. Like, they don't need it because they use this exploit, which will then keep the video up, and they don't even need to do that. So this next story, which we just published today, is that people are using a glitch to upload porn to YouTube, and YouTube can't delete it. You spoke to somebody who knew how this bug worked. I mean, how did they characterize it exactly?
So I spoke to the person who claims that they discovered the glitch, and this is somewhat technical, but basically what happens is when you upload a video to YouTube, you fill out a bunch of fields, the title, the description, and then there's tags, right? In the same way that you would like hashtag a tweet, there's a field for just like tagging the video for discoverability. And the character limit on that box is 500 characters, I believe. And what this person discovered is that the input new line, which is what your keyboard does when you press return, right? Literally jumps you to a new line. YouTube doesn't count that as a character. And this person claims that they knew this because this was the case in other places on the site. It's just like a thing across YouTube, they said, where YouTube doesn't count that as a character. So they just tried it there, and they input new line like, 3 million times or something.
Like an obscene amount. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a non-human amount. Yeah.
Right, yes. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, this person doesn't know why, and YouTube didn't tell us why, but it appears that what happens is if you abuse this glitch, then YouTube is no longer able, or was no longer able, to change the visibility settings of a video. So if you post a video to YouTube, you can choose for it to be private, public, or unlisted. And when YouTube deletes a video, that is a similar change. It takes a video and takes it from visible in some way to not visible.
Mm-hmm.
And this person claims that with this bug in place, when YouTube deletes the video, it doesn't, or deletes the entire channel, it just doesn't change the visibility settings. So the channel itself might be deleted, but if you have the link to the video, you can still see it. And the type of videos that these people were posting were much more graphic and blatant than the like educational loophole. They were straight up videos ripped from Pornhub with the Pornhub pre-roll. And it's just like hardcore porn on YouTube for, more than a week is what I saw. I think the earliest video I saw was posted like September 21st.
Right.
And it just stayed up there.
Now it's early October. So like you've been seeing these for a while. Just to like hammer home how this exploit works. Basically, a sort of simple way of thinking about it, if I understand correctly, is that they go to upload a video, they basically overload it with data to the point where it messes with the YouTube system for setting whether a video is public or private or even like available or not. And it messes that up in such a way that these hardcore videos can exist even when the account is deleted, which is crazy.
Correct. Yeah, and you used the term when we were talking today. This has a name in programming that we.
Yes, I would say it's potentially a buffer overflow. I would also say that, as listeners and readers may know, I haven't covered hacking in like a while, and I like need to brush up on some of my much more technical terms as I've moved into privacy. But yes, that essentially that's basically what's going here. You're overloading a system with like garbage data to the point where it's doing something that is very, very unexpected. And one of those unexpected things is that when you go and look at these videos beyond the actual porn itself, which is like, whoa, okay, that's on YouTube, the UI looks really different, right? How does that look?
So you go to a YouTube page, the video loads, the search bar above the video loads, and your recommendation bar on the right side loads, but nothing else does. Not the username, not like the account name, not the likes, not the views, not the comments. Anything below the video doesn't load. And that's how we got wise to the fact that something weird was going on here, because I was just in that normal YouTube porn hunting Discord, and I clicked on a video and I was like, this is all broken. And it's hardcore pornography. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, maybe they deleted it. And it's like, it's taking time on the back end for YouTube to like actually remove the entire page. But then we checked it the next day and the day after, and it was still up. And that's kind of how we started to explore what's going on here.
Yeah. So what is the like ultimate consequence of this bug and it being exploited? Is it that videos that would usually be caught by YouTube's filters can exist on the platform? Is it that the videos can stay up for a long time? Like, what's the actual like end consequence sort of this, do you think?
I wouldn't describe it as some emergency or huge problem. And also, to be clear, I don't care that there's adult content on YouTube. For all I care, just like post all the porn you want. It doesn't bother me. I think what it actually shows is just how big and complicated YouTube is. It's been used since 2005, I think. It's taking in, what is it, 500 hours of videos every minute. And it's just one company trying to moderate all of this. And as you and Jason and all of us have written over the years, when you have a platform that is that big and is taking in so much user generated content, you can't really perfectly moderate it. And I think that's just an example of what this is, that there are users out there who in some ways understand YouTube better than YouTube does, and they just find little cracks in the system and ways to abuse it. Though the abuse here is like, I don't think your child is going to find one of these videos by mistake. I don't think it's harming anyone. If it's harming anyone, it's just, the creators whose porn is being pirated and shared on YouTube.
Yeah, sure. Jason, you were going to say something?
It's a really cool and interesting community, in my opinion. It's just like someone emailed us and said, like, why are people doing this? Or I think that was one of my mentions on Mastodon. And it's like, they're doing it because they're weirdos and because they can. It's like, there's nothing beyond it. It's like, can you sneak porn onto YouTube? It's a challenge. It's like, can you beat this $1 trillion company at their own game? And like Emanuel said, most of this stuff is not that. I mean, it's graphic in that it's nudity, but it's not. No one's getting hurt really, outside of maybe the piracy element of things. But it's not like this. They're not uploading like ISIS terrorism videos or white nationalism.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. In that, I remember covering years ago when obviously ISIS was a much more serious presence than it is now. But I wrote scripts that would check YouTube check YouTube for ISIS propaganda and see how long it got taken to be removed, that sort of thing. And it basically showed that, although YouTube had improved and it was cracking down, there was still like significant gaps at the time in YouTube's moderation of it. Now, as you both say, this is sort of a harmless community. It's people having fun. But what does anybody think about the idea that what if this did end up in the hands of somebody, like a terrorist organization or like somebody spreading misinformation? Even me saying that out loud like sounds ridiculous because, oh my God, is ISIS going to get in a Discord channel with all these guys and like figure out how to upload you? Like, no, probably not. But like, is there room for abuse here, do you think, that's beyond the piracy of sex workers material?
I mean, you certainly could in theory abuse this to some end like you're describing, but I would say it's more that it's like this is a fringe example of a much more pervasive problem on YouTube, which, as I said, it's like they can't fully understand their own machine. And there's stuff that is like way closer to the surface that is potentially harmful. Plenty of studies that we can pull up right now about like radicalization and extremism on YouTube and stuff like that. So I think it just points to that problem, but in a more weird, extreme way.
Yeah, sure, totally. All right, let's leave that there. I'm sure Emanuel will be keeping an eye on that community and see what else they get up to. When we come back after the break, we're going to be talking about how food delivery robots in LA, which deliver food for Uber Eats, are providing footage to the LAPD, which is a ridiculous sentence. And it took me a while to get that out. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. As mentioned, we're going to be talking about food delivery robots and Uber Eats and the LAPD. The title of this piece that Jason wrote is Food Delivery Robots Are Feeding Camera Footage to the LAPD, Internal Emails Show. I think this was my headline, and I was very proud that I got feeding in there because food to, yeah, okay,
I
whatever.
didn't even notice that till right now.
Dude,
it didn't even.
that's what
It didn't
I'm
even.
talking about.
It didn't parse.
That's what I'm talking about. We're on the second level now when it comes to the puns in our headlines, and I'm going to continue to get them out there. First of all, Jason, I mean, I'm not familiar with these robots really. I don't know if Sam or Emanuel are. Well, actually, Sam, have you ever seen these
I've
robots?
never seen one. I've been to LA a couple times. I think they're mostly in LA, right? Like that's kind of where they're, maybe some in Austin or something. But like, yeah, I've never seen one in any of my.
They're
Jason
in
apparently
LA,
sees them
and
all the
then
time.
they're also very common in college campuses, like all
Okay.
over the country. They're common in college campuses.
Okay, I go to neither of those places, so I have not seen these robots either. Emmanuel, you haven't, right?
I have not. And I would react very violently. I think if I saw one of these on the streets of where I live.
Yeah.
I don't
I've
like
seen a
the
lot of
look
the
of
videos
it.
of
Streets are
people
too narrow
cooking
for
them.
this here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to give listeners a sense, they're just these small little robots with wheels and a camera attached on them. You know, the companies claim that they are powered by AI, but it turns out a lot of the time it's just somebody driving them, like a remote control car or whatever. Jason, before we get into the specifics of the story, yes, all of us may not have really seen these, but these are a common sight in LA. Can you just sum up like how commonly you see them and like are they actually being
I'll
used?
try to do this quickly. So there's two companies. One is called Coco and one is called Serve. Coco does Santa Monica, which is technically a different city, but it's basically a different neighborhood in LA. I used to live in Santa Monica. I saw these things all the time. Like every time I walked my dog, I saw them. And one time it it cut me and my dog off while I was walking.
Wow.
And I flicked off the robot because I was mad.
You swore at the robot?
I swore at the robot, and the robot did a 360 and like blinked its little lights at me.
No.
What?
Because they're remotely piloted by people with like Xbox controllers. I've seen people, the companies come out to like different street fairs and stuff, and they're like, try to drive our robot. It's like they've made it very cute. I'll send around the video for our paid subscribers if you want to see me
Oh
get in a fight
absolutely.
with the robot. Anyways, there's another one called Serve that does Uber Eats, and that's in LA proper, like the city of LA, and it's in, I don't know, like 8 different neighborhoods. The same day we published this article, I went to West Hollywood, which is one of the neighborhoods that it operates in, and I saw 15 of them while I was sitting at a bar.
That's
like,
crazy.
It was a sidewalk bar. I saw at least 15 of them. Like they are very common. I see them every single day.
This is like so alien to me. It sounds like I'm in Cyberpunk or something, or well, like any yeah, like a really shit version of like Cyberpunk dystopia.
They're really controversial too. Like there's
Sure.
there's always threads on the LA subreddit. Like, do people like these robots? Do they not like the robots? On Nextdoor, there's all these fights about them. And that's why I filed FOIAs, because I was just like, are people filing complaints about this?
Right. Yes. So you mentioned FOIAs. So what you got was you sent public records requests, and you got a bunch of emails between the LAPD and Serve Robotics, which is one of the companies you mentioned, and including a bunch of other stuff. They describe a specific case where 2 men tried and failed to steal one of these robots. It wasn't Emanuel, even though that's how he would react, but what happened what happened in that instance, like the actual crime, and then how did Serve and the LAPD respond?
So 2 men tried to pick up this robot and put it into a box truck, like into a U-Haul, essentially, with a ramp that had a ramp on it. And the robot just drove off the truck and like drove away, and it was fine. Like it wasn't really, I think there was some minor damage to it, and the robot like was not stolen, but the cops were called. The cops came and they arrested the 2 people who tried to steal the robot. And then in the follow-up, this happened in March, I believe. In the follow-up, the driver of that robot sent the video feed from the robot, like what the robot was seeing, to the LAPD. And a court case was opened. And as part of the court case, the LAPD separately subpoenaed that footage, and Serve Robotics responded to that subpoena and gave the footage again, according to the emails that I got. And the emails were very clear. It was like evidence submission, footage from robot, something like that. And then there were emails back and forth just saying like, yes, we responded to your subpoena. We responded to your link request, so on and so forth. And the two people who tried to steal the robot were convicted, according to Serve, at least partially based on the footage that was shot by this robot. And then after the fact, the CEO of the company published a Medium post, published a redacted version of the footage that the robot took, and made it all cute and talked about how they're going to handle cases like this in the future, essentially.
Yeah, the cuteness is odd. Yeah, as you mentioned, they have the robot at these fairs, and you can do it, and it's very much in the marketing. But there is, other considerations to have with these robots. Let me just clarify something. So the robot, for lack of a better way of putting it, the robot is a victim of a crime. I don't even know if that's actually possible. And as you said, it got away. The robot was fine. Nothing happened to the bloody robot. But in the first case, Surf voluntarily provided that footage more as sort of the victim of that crime. But more importantly, the LAPD served a subpoena, as you said, onto Serve, and then they responded to that. I think that is the really important part of this article, right? This shows that these robots driving around, they're filming a lot of the time, and the LAPD or other law enforcement can request that data. Yes, in this case, it was about some people trying to steal a robot, but it could easily be about something else, like maybe it sees a shoplifter from another property running across, or it does whatever, right? And hey, we want a subpoena to all the robots that were driving past Jason while he was having a beer on the sidewalk, all 15 of them, or whatever, right? Is that the important part here, you think, of this story?
Yeah, so the emails show that Serve saw a very close relationship with the LAPD. There's all of these emails back and forth between Serve and LAPD saying, like, you should come to our headquarters, we should work closer together. And this is ostensibly because people keep fucking with their robots. Like, people try to steal them, people tip them over, so on and so forth. And they wanted a mechanism for stopping this. And you can kind of see in the emails, like I'm reading into it a little bit, but you can see in the emails the LAPD's like a light bulb going off in their collective heads, where they're like internal emails between the police being like, we need a partnership with this company. Like, they use the word partnership. We need to form a partnership with this company. And there's like all this talk of them going to the headquarters and learning what they do and so on and so forth. And then there's another light bulb moment where like the LAPD realizes that it can subpoena this footage from Serve. And it's like, if Serve is getting a subpoena, they pretty much have to comply with it. It's like, if the footage exists, they basically need to provide it. I mean, there's very limited exceptions, or like you can ignore a subpoena, but then you perhaps have a separate legal battle that you need to fight. And so that's the really concerning thing to me, is that this footage is happening. It's being recorded. The LAPD knows it's being recorded, and the LAPD has realized that it can ask for it.
Yeah, totally. It reminds me that we have products or services that end up being used in very interesting sort of surveillance contexts that we don't anticipate. There's been a lot of reporting over the years, and then in Bloomberg again recently, about how police do reverse location data warrants, which is like, okay, we're not going to go and ask for the location of a particular phone. We're going to go and ask what phones were in this location at this time. We want to know all of the 50, 100, 150 phones that were in this place. And, you can imagine, certainly, that there could be a subpoena for, we want all the footage from, robots during this time. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, yes, they may be delivering food, but they're also walking camera or driving cameras, essentially, right?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people, when I published this article, a lot of people were like, "Wow, I had no idea. Thank you so much for doing this article." But the main criticism that I got, which I think is bullshit, which I talked about, is people saying, "Oh, the cops subpoena a camera. Like, how's this any different from subpoenaing any surveillance camera? How's it any different from subpoenaing like a Ring camera or getting data from a Ring camera?" And to that, it's like, well, at Motherboard, we did 20 articles about how Ring cameras were being used by police.
Yeah, we led
and how,
we led coverage on that, and that didn't exist. As in, you couldn't subpoena Ring cameras until obviously people made Ring cameras, and cops discovered you could do that. It's the evolution of that.
right. And so one, that's very concerning to me. Like, I don't think that that's great. I think it's concerning. The difference, though, is a Ring camera is affixed to a fixed location on private property, like on property that someone owns. These driving robots are using public taxpayer funded infrastructure, like public sidewalks, and they're driving around. They're not fixed. They're just moving around at all times, recording everything that they see. So they're moving around on public infrastructure. And I'm not saying that this is the worst thing that's ever happened, but I'm saying that, one, people should know that they're filming and that footage can go to the cops. And two, it's like a discussion that the community should have. It's like, do we want these things that have other negative externalities, like getting in the way of wheelchairs, crashing into trees? Like, literally, while I was sitting and watching them, I watched one drive into a tree. I'm not even kidding. I watched one drive directly into a tree.
That's good.
They're scaring dogs. Like, a lot of dogs bark at them because some
Unnamed
dogs. My dog does not bark at it. Mango doesn't mind. But it's like, it's a discussion that we should have, because they're not paying the city to deploy these. They're just driving around.
One thing that really bothered me is, after you filed this story, I was looking at the company's website, and one of the earliest pitch videos for the company, the CEO, one of the first things he says is that they have to be responsible because they operate on sidewalks, and the sidewalks are a public space. And that is very true. And I think, as you said, these things have been deployed without really asking the community or like examining the consequences. And traditionally, there has been a lot of discussion about how we deploy things in public spaces, right? It's like with electric vehicles and scooters and all this stuff, there's like, well, how are, hearing impaired people going to notice these things coming? Or like, how is this going to affect people in wheelchairs and stuff like this? And not only did we not have this discussion, it has now, like, clearly not everybody is thrilled with them. And it has escalated from not just not having a discussion. It's like now every robot that you see is implicitly backed by the LAPD. You know what I mean? So it turned from like, it's like these robots that we don't like to like, you better not look sideways at this robot or like a squad car is going to pull up. It's really, really not cool.
Well, and there's a few different social media accounts of like film these robots fucking up. Like, one of these serve robots drove through what was thought at the time to be an active shooting situation. Like, it drove directly under the caution tape at Hollywood High School last year, in footage that I also wrote about and went like very viral. It's like, these things are not on the level, I would argue. And then there's a lot of people who are fucking with them, who pushing them over, who are putting cones in front of them, who are doing whatever. And it's like, on one hand, these people are, destroying or bothering property. On the other, there's a reason that many of them are doing it. And the reason that they're doing it is, an act of Luddism, as my friend Brian Merchant would say in his new book, Blood in the Machine. But no, this came up when I was talking to him. He's like, this is basically what the Luddites did. They smashed the machines, or they fucked with them. And it's like an act of protest. And if you're not actually destroying the robot, you're not actually causing any harm, but you are being filmed, and that footage can be given to the police either voluntarily or under threat of court order. It's not great.
Yeah, if I pick one up and take it down the street, is that stealing it? Am I going to get convicted of grand larceny?
Well,
that's kind of what
I really want to see
Probably.
what the court case is, because the LAPD won't tell me the names of the suspects, and it won't tell me the court case. And I've gone back and forth. I've challenged it, the redactions in the FOIA, because they didn't successfully steal the robot. The robot is fine, and yet they were charged and apparently convicted of grand larceny. I understand, like, attempted murder is a crime, but
It's a robot.
it's a robot, and it's like, it's not even really like attempted burglary where you break into someone's house. It's like they picked up the robot that was on a sidewalk, they put it into a truck, and it drove off of the truck.
Yeah, if I put my laptop out on the sidewalk and someone picks it up and takes it down the street, puts it down, did they attempt to steal it? That's my private property on public property.
We should try that out.
Should I go try it?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go put my laptop
put some
outside.
wheels and a camera on it as well.
I would say that's an attempted robbery. Whether a court is going to convict someone that picked up your laptop off the street, walked it down the street, and put it back down, probably not. Probably not.
Yeah,
I don't think that the LAPD is going to, try that case. It doesn't seem worth it. And I think that's one of the reasons.
If I'm in partnership with LAPD and I'm scratching their back when they scratch mine, it's a different story.
And the very last thing I'll say, I know we're basically at time, but Serve Robots also asked the LAPD to clean up the homelessness problem in front of its office because they were, quote unquote, taking up the sidewalk. And
supremely ironic. Yeah,
extremely ironic. This was one of its, high level executives. And so it's very ironic. And it's like, these people don't really have.
And gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on that company and others like it and their relationship with law enforcement. One thing I'll just say before we do leave, listeners of last week's episode would have remembered that we covered a Taylor Swift fan TikTok account that was using facial recognition tech to dox random people online. Since we recorded that and now recording this one, that account has deleted all of those dozens of doxing videos. So just to close the loop on that story as well. But with that, I will play us out. As a reminder, 404 Media is journalist founded and supported by subscribers. If you wish to subscribe to 404 Media and directly support our work, please go to 404media.co. You'll get unlimited access to our articles and an ad-free version of this podcast. Another way to support us is by leaving a 5-star rating and a review. Here is one of those reviews from Woo Banger. I'm so relieved that these guys haven't thrown in the towel. As a team especially, they consistently produce content of the highest quality. Well, thank you very much. This has been 404 Media. We will see you again next week.